Hello everybody! It's Thursday and it's the time where we normally have the round table, and as our now recent catchphrase is, the real what if is the friends that we made along the way. I'm MasakoX, and at the moment I am flying solo, but I have word that Sophie will be joining us, but she will just be a little late is all. And unfortunately Hav is feeling a bit under the weather, so he will not be joining us today. But Sophie will be with us, it just will be a little bit later than normal. But for those of you who are here, welcome to the live stream, and thank you very much for your contributions already. We've got tons of these coming in. And all I gotta say is just thank you from the heart of my bottom. And this really does help support the channel, especially in this uncertain time. And I hope you're all out there being safe and being responsible and wearing your gosh darn mask where you are possibly able to. And basically, we're just going to rush through these things right now. So, first off, we got to say that if you wish to contribute your to this live stream, you can leave a super chat, and this will get your what if seen, and we will have it documented, and our moderators will take notes because we always get some good inspiration and good ideas from these live streams. And no, Red Dragon, and of course we do have Red Dragon, and I think maybe Meg in the chat, and Sophie will be in there as well, so we'll have our moderators checking the chats as well. So if you want to contribute as well as get your idea in, super chat, whatever you can. But anyway, let's start off with the big one. There was a 51 from Mazik, and it's a birthday week for me, so for Mazik I mean, so I figured that'd be fun to put in a what if in. Well, happy birthday to you, Mazik, by the way. What if Kami had an offspring after Demon King Piccolo's defeat, not linked to the life link if possible? He could be a good training partner for Goku and possibly becoming Kami. So, okay. So long as I think Kami is still alive, then I imagine that this offspring would probably have, you know, that kind of freedom of, you know, the connection to Piccolo Jr. So I imagine probably this one would actually indeed would be a very good sparring partner. As in, because Kami would have learnt quite a bit from Goku. And during that 5-year time skip before Z, would definitely be something that would be a very interesting candidate, and it probably would at least get Piccolo's attention, and maybe get the power levels around closer to 500, because they'd be just sparring off each other, as well as being a benevolent soul, not trying to, you know, take over the world, etc. So, Mazik, I think that'd be a potentially good idea, as in, like, he could indeed be a good training partner for Goku, and, you know, connection to Kami. I mean, he would inherit that connection maybe when Kami dies, but there's no saying about when Kami will do so. Certainly not in the lifetimes of the people of, you know, of Dragon Ball, the Dragon Team. Probably he's got another at least a couple of centuries. But at the very least, he would certainly not be encumbered by it from the very beginning of his life. Anyway, let's get started with the main chat. Thank you very much, Mazik, by the way. Viper Phoenix. Coming to the Frieza Force Network, the first show Lord Frieza didn't blow up. It's Monkey and Slug Episode 4. Things heat up when rival shop Frieza's Flavors opens up down the street. How will the Monkey and Slug team handle new competition?
Okay, Lord Slug, hear me out. I'm gonna say that...
It better not involve a muffin button, Goku.
Oh, come on! Muffin buttons are great! People like pressing buttons. Muffins are tasty.
Says you.
Oh, I know me. I would eat it.
Well, then just make it for yourself.
I should do that. Good idea, Slug. That's why you're my business partner.
So there you go. And that's Monkey and Slug. Alright, Brendan Little. This is Raditz.
You kids better get ready for my double Sunday attack.
Do you really have to say that every time you serve dessert?
Of course I do. It's all part and parcel of having the double Sunday. You've got to give 2 scoops at a time, or else it just doesn't work. It's just weird. I know my attacks.
It's just any chance to do a Raditz voice is always great. Thanks, Brendan. And Viper Phoenix coming in with a double super chat, going, bit of a comedy sketch. Brah.
Dad, I'm pregnant, and Karisa's the father.
Frieza faints. Vegeta utters another curse so strong it breaks the time barrier. Meanwhile, Frieza... Son, I'm not mad, so much as I am confused as to how.
Part 2, The Big Day. Vegeta, Frieza, quick, get more towels. Frieza,
Good heavens, it's everywhere! It's all gross! I mean, why couldn't she just be born in a nursing capsule like the rest of them?
Bulma, I thought your species reproduced asexually.
Frieza, we do! This is weird! I don't understand! You monkeys! Ah! No wonder I tried to destroy you all those years ago. There you go. Again, I love doing all these improvs. But Viper does come in. More quotes. Okay. Good boy Frieza at 16's funeral with the gang on his Empire ship. Out of all the souls I've known, his was the most human. But he was a robot. Exactly. Uncomplicated. Again, love them. Alright, okay. Red Dragon, on behalf of Karan Sinai. What if Chi-Chi learned Kaioken from Goku? Well, that would explain that one time in Dragon Ball Z she had a red aura. Maybe Kaioken was something they did in the bedroom. Kaioken times 69. Red Dragon Force again. Last week, Kame Droid had Nimbus save Gohan. I think he meant Nimbus to save Gohan from Kid Buu's attack and get him to Goku before Shin saved them. Oh yeah, like transportation, because Nimbus can like phase in and out at will. Makes perfect sense that, you know, he could just easily like phase in, collect Gohan, scoop him up, and Buu is just like... The only way I think that could be an issue is if Buu basically just tries to like suck in all the air. That's the only issue I could probably see. So, sorry, so thanks for the clarification, Dragon. More things from Viper.
Chi-Chi, Goku, you're getting too fat. You need to diet. Goku, what's a diet? Does it involve doing stuff?
Gohan explains it.
Goku, I am Goku Black 2.0. Humans need to perish. This diet must not see the light of day.
Alright, Red Dragon. Red Dragon again. What if Vegeta met Grandpa Gohan after dying on Namek, learning more about Goku-Rot, Goku Kakarot, and stayed on Earth to train with Goku's group, obtaining Super Saiyan that way? That would be pretty interesting. Like, it's a journey of discovery, basically finding out that Goku's past. And I also imagine he would be probably getting some good intel.
Ah, yes, well, there was this one time when Goku was just a little boy, and, you know, he made such a mess. There was effluence everywhere, but he did help clean it up. Ah, yes, effluence, human waste. This is going to be a very good piece of arsenal later on in the future that it can hold against Kakarot. Now who's the shiz stirrer?
Obviously, I can't say the word because of monetization, but there you go. But in all seriousness, Dragon, it would certainly be a good insight. It would probably still not stop him from being a douche to Goku, but he would certainly at least understand why he is the way he is, and at least be appreciative of that. At least a human managed to make sure that he survived, you know, so they could learn off of each other. Red Dragon Force 2. In the previous part of Strong Hercule, future Videl never reacted to seeing her dead father. Was there a reason for that, or did she not see his body? Probably Videl was probably trying to keep her cool. I imagine probably if she found out, I think Videl probably just wasn't anticipating it. So I imagine probably that will come up in the fullness of time if they do arrive together.
It's like, well, I'm sorry I didn't get to see you, but I was kind of dead.
You were what?
Don't worry, I got better. As you can see right now. You know, doesn't matter. You know, Dragon Balls and all that. Oh, right. You don't actually have that. Oh, sorry, my bad, sweetie.
just like, you know that even despite Hercule being this really just like, he's a strong guy in this universe, he still would put his foot in it. It's no doubt. Okay. Viper Phoenix again. You ever stop to think that if Guru had just named a successor and passed, and that Namekian just left with the gang, the second half of the Frieza saga would have just not happened? I guess, maybe? If they just disappeared, they got the Dragon Balls, and then they just kind of, you know, just left Namek. That would certainly been a bit anticlimactic, and then we wouldn't have had a story. So just named the successor Elder Moro. The Namekians, they could have easily wouldn't have known how it all worked. So definitely would have been able to give them the slip. Red Dragon Force 2, as Vegeta.
I am so alone and it hurts. If only I could get Zenkais from this kind of emotional pain, I wouldn't resort to a tiny magic man who is green and little to fight Kakarot again. Oh my, how the mighty have fallen.
It's just like, it's certainly something that I never really saw coming, and really I hope that doesn't actually happen. But it's funny. It's definitely funny. Oh, and there was a lag spike. Okay, no worries. I can easily just adjust it. So I'll just do it again.
I am so alone and it hurts. If only I could get Zenkais from this kind of pain, I wouldn't resort to a tiny magic man who is green and little to fight Kakarot again.
There you go. APC 218. What if in Resurrection F, in place of Frieza, it was Cooler or Kuriza? Well, if it was Cooler, I imagine certainly it would be a bit more interesting, and it would be like, oh hey, Cooler's canon now, neat. And Kuriza, that'd be like a dig to Neko Margin Z, so that would certainly be something. But it's personally my belief that it's going to be Cooler, the subject of the next movie, because you can still have Frieza in it, and everybody likes Frieza. That's just the truth of it, to be honest. Okay, let's see. Viper Phoenix. Is it wrong that I never thought Raditz resembled Goku? I feel like maybe Turles was meant to be the brother, considering they're, identical. That's a good point, actually. Because it's like, Raditz and Goku don't really look similar at all. And you can't say that, that it's just for the twist, because they reveal the twist relatively quickly, like the second or third episode or something like that. I guess it's really just to kind of denote all the differences and stuff. Like, Raditz doesn't look like Bardock, There are those connections. It's just, it's hard to say. I mean, probably if Raditz was slightly redesigned to look a bit more like Gine, maybe. I mean, maybe that's where he got his hair, but to the, because he's tall, it kind of made up the difference. Maybe it was like that. APC. What if the Goku Black Arc was the Tree of Might rebooted? Well, it would certainly be a return to form for the Genki Dama. It would show that maybe instead of using the Super Dragon Balls to become immortal, Zamasu would just have the Tree of Might, have the fruit of the Tree of Might, eat the whole thing instead of just taking one bite. How wasteful was the guy? And possibly, gaining all of that power. So, certainly like that. But I would certainly say Tree of Might rebooted. The Tree of Might's a pretty good tool. Certainly a pretty good tool in my opinion. The Batosai. After hearing him as Bendu in Star Wars Rebels, how about Tom Baker as Moro?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I am Moro. I am a very old ram from the depths of time. Yes. Yes, Son Goku. Would you care for a jelly baby?
It's like Moro suddenly likes jelly babies now. That's canon. That is canon to me now. Nothing else will do. Oh, dude, we had lag spikes.
I would say, yes, I am Moro. I'm a very old space ram from the depths of time. Would you care for a jelly baby?
There you go, Batosai. And that is just further messaging pictures of Uffa, just so you know. Red Dragon Force 2. Remember Male Azir, the monkey caretaker? Oh yes, he works at the zoo and looks after monkeys. Ah yes. Oh, you monkeys. Oh, every single day you get so filthy. You filthy monkeys. Oh yes, how could we not forget? Oh, right. Okay, Sophie's here. All right, let's give her a call. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Sophie is here. Welcome.
Sophie's
Sophie.
here.
Sophie's here. Sophie's here.
It's over 9,000! But you know why? Because I'm a monkey.
But yeah, so
just like Goku, showing up in the nick of time.
That is until Sophie shows up. Yeah, but we've made some good progress, and we've had some good quotations and stuff like that. And we
Good.
just got on to Papa Podo's question. I said, would making Dragon Ball Zero be canon be a good or bad idea? The manga where Raditz and Turles are childhood friends until Turles dies on a mission. Are you familiar with Dragon Ball Zero?
I'm only very, very minorly familiar with it in that it, like, I know that it gave Raditz a little bit of a backstory, and that, like, it established kind of the thing that a lot of people kind of consider fanon at this point, you know, as far as Turles and Raditz being friends.
Yeah.
So I'm familiar with it as far as that goes. I always think it's a good idea to give some more backstory to those characters that basically have none, especially if they're movie characters that could be interesting.
Yeah.
Turles kind of being the OG evil version of Goku, you know, has been it's always been the one that I think a lot of people kind of wished had more of a backstory, because in every iteration of the Tree of Might, like, no matter what dub you watch, because I mean, different dubs gave different reasons for the whole, like, you look like Goku thing, you know. No matter which dub you watch, it's kind of always hand waved as just kind of like, low class Saiyan warriors had a tendency to look a lot similar. And so I think anything that gives a bit more backstory to Turles is pretty good, especially since linking him into the backstory for Raditz develops both Turles as a character and Raditz. And Raditz is, I mean, come on, considering you're the person who spearheaded the whole, you know, Dragon Ball R&R and stuff like that.
Stop.
Raditz as a character was wasted potential to the extreme. So yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily think Dragon Ball Zero would be bad to canonize. The biggest question you kind of have to ask yourself is, at this point in the series, when we're like deep into Dragon Ball Super and stuff like that, is there really a narrative reason to make the effort to canonize it?
Yeah, that is the question. That it'd be a nice little side story, but we're kind of in too deep with Dragon Ball right now. If it had come around maybe like 20 years ago, that might have been different. Or no, 30
you could always wind up with like a prequel series, you know, especially like TV shows will do that a lot sometimes if there's like a lot of lore and stuff like that. Star Trek's done it before. The Game of Thrones television show is over now, but they plan on doing the House of the Dragon, or which is going to be about the Dance of the Dragons, I think, which is some 100 plus ish, 150 plus ish years before the events of Game of Thrones. So like, if you wanted to address it in like a prequel series, that might work out, you know. But it would have to be short, and you're still working with the effect of, I know that in the future everyone on this planet is going to be dead.
Yeah, exactly. Red Dragon Force 2, Cell meets Breath of the Wild Sidon. Cell goes,
"Ah yes, I found my rival. Sleek, magnificent jaw, enthusiastic personality, and he is technically older, so does that make him my senpai? Because I'm 6.
That's the thing.
He's 11! I'm 6! Wow.
Sidon's over 100.
Yeah.
So that's one heck of a May-December romance right there.
Big
I can make it work.
Okay. APC218. What if the real reason Pan and Bulla never turned Super Saiyan was because they didn't want to mess up their hair? You know that Toriyama came up with the thing, oh, the heart wasn't in it. What? They're the pluckiest characters in the show. They're some of the pluckiest characters. And Pan? really plucky. So there's like no excuse
Not
for
only is
Pan.
not only is Pan plucky, she's literally the child of the two characters with the most raw power potential amongst their respective races. Gohan is the most power potential of the Saiyan hybrid children, just like period, because he's got that thing, he's got that je ne sais quoi about him that makes him just like, he's the special as far as the half Saiyan hybrids go. And Videl is just, she's the most amazing human in the entire series, bar none. Because not only did she manage to become like a legit martial artist despite her dad being more or less a total shyster, she also managed to learn key control and the flight technique, like with only a week, 2 weeks of training with Gohan. That's like the most progress of any character in the series, even compared to someone with a giant edge like Goku. So Pan just like not becoming Super Saiyan because she didn't have the heart makes zero sense.
Yeah, absolutely, totally agree there. Guardian Tree. If Gohan got Super Saiyan 3 or Super Saiyan God, would that make his ultimate form even stronger? How strong would Piccolo be with ultimate? Cheers. Have a good day, folks. Thanks, Guardian. If Piccolo became ultimate Piccolo, considering how much he trains and meditates and stuff like that, it's something that it certainly takes a long. It would certainly be something that he would utilize very well to the fullest extent.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. And by the way, I want to say
that kind of goes.
I want to say, Homnix, we got a massive backlog, so you've just got to be patient. I do see your super chat in there. You just need to be patient because, again, we have a lot of these to go through.
Yeah, we go down a list.
Yeah, we do go down
in the order that they were received.
Yes. Yeah. So carry on what you were saying.
What I was going to say is that the spiritual. The spirituality and meditation of a character like Piccolo, like somebody who gets like really deep down into the spirit, with how much he meditates, with how much he focuses on that, you'd think that would be a good opportunity to bring Piccolo back into the narrative as someone of importance in an arc like what's going on right now with DB Super, especially since it's an arc that takes place on New Namek. It's an arc that deals with like the Namekians, the Dragon Balls, all of that sort of thing. And it's an arc where they're readdressing the concept of like Ultra Instinct and stuff like that. What if Piccolo was the one who was able to most adeptly tap into Ultra Instinct, just because he's that attuned to his own spirit that he could drop into it, kind of like when Aang in Avatar: The Last Airbender utilizes his meditation to enter the Avatar state at will in the later portions of the show.
Yeah.
Make Ultra Instinct kind of like the equivalent of like an Avatar state for characters like Piccolo, who have put in the extra time and work on the spiritual end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
As opposed to Goku, who's just like, I'm a deck him in the stars.
Yeah, he's not exactly subtle. Let's just say that, at the very least. Okay, Arthur. What if the Dragon Balls required payment or equivalent exchange like in FMA Brotherhood? 2 options if the Dragon Team knew and if they don't. Well, that first time with, I think it would start off very small. Like, basically, Oolong wishes for the panties. Bulma just goes, feels a breeze. That's weird. That's happens like, oh. It starts off small, and then as with all of the wishes they make, they're like, they become greater in scale. Like, say, for example, Kochin wishes to melt the ice from his laboratory. It means that suddenly there is a massive, cold snap that hits a certain random part of the planet. Like, basically, just a flash blizzard of, like, a magnificent scale or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
It could also serve as kind of like a diminishing returns thing to where the negative side effects of each wish is not only proportional to, like, how big the wish is. You could also incorporate the whole aspect of like the fact that the Dragon Balls need time to burn off the negative energy, like was introduced in GT when they started to crack and stuff like that during the Dark Dragon arc. You could introduce this fact that like the negative side effects get worse the more frequently you use the Dragon Balls without giving them time to like rest in between, you know. If you're going and making a wish annually on, you know, once a year every year, then it becomes a problem, you know.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting though. It would certainly mean that you'd have to use the Dragon Balls sparingly, or you're willing to take the hit for the absolute thing. Batosai, I'm not sure if you said it before, but what was the reason for recasting as Roshi with Lani Pator? Oh, that is actually a really sore topic, and I actually don't really want to say. But I'm
sorry, Mas.
Nah, screw it. Basically, I just couldn't do the role. Like, for going forward, I was just not capable of it, and so they recast. There it is. There you go.
I like your Roshi, Mas.
But it was to do with the fact I couldn't do the laugh, and I got and the kicker was I just basically got recast and they didn't tell me. So
now see that's unfortunate.
DBZ A31 came out. Yeah, no idea.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I know, and the thing was, I'd recorded for that episode, and we were struggling, and they thought, oh, okay, well we'll make this work. We'll re-record, we'll reschedule. Then they do 31, and they didn't tell me. Yeah, I didn't.
That's a bummer.
I didn't kick off at the time. I was more upset, and I just didn't want to say anything. Now I think after like 7 years, it's like Roshi. Lani is Roshi, so I feel like it's fine just to say, to be honest. But that, it is what it is. Oh well, no worries. All right, Papa Podo. If there are enough pure-hearted Saiyans at the Cell Games and they gave Gohan their energy, would the Super Saiyan God transformation wake Beerus up early? Well, the thing is, though, is that they need to like do a certain thing, like a certain trick, a spark, to initiate it. But let's say it happens like accidentally, like they have no idea. So all of the Saiyans there, if there were enough, so like say if like Goten and Trunks were there, etc. It means that Gohan became a Super Saiyan God without knowing it. I don't think it would be enough to wake Beerus up per se, but it would certainly attract the attention of Whis. And it says, "Oh, you've come up relatively soon," as in like, this is interesting. And Whis would be in this dilemma about like, do I wake him up or not? It's just a child.
I think Whis would be of the mindset that like if the transformation didn't trigger one of Beerus's alarms, he wouldn't care enough to wake Beerus up.
Yeah, oh no.
He would just be like
I'm just going to pretend that didn't happen.
Exactly. Exactly. He'd just be like, well, Beerus still has 10 years or so before the alarm goes off. I think we can let him continue to get his beauty sleep.
Yes, exactly. So he'd just be like saying, oh, well, I'll just train this little one before he gets there. Interesting. Yeah, and he'd be just like, huh. Turns out the prophecy was right after all. I owe the Oracle Fish a Coke. Alright. APC 218. What if the androids were the Inspector Gadget cast? Oh, man.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, dude. Dr. Giro.
Dr. Giro is basically Dr. Claw.
So then would that make Android 19 Inspector Gadget?
It's like, wowzers!
Wowzers!
Gadget punch! Yeah, and... well, it would basically...
Oh my god.
Oh, man. Oh.
I'm just because see the thing is I'm imagining because like 19 is the android that gets his butt kicked like the most seriously, and like one of the things about the Inspector Gadget cartoon was the gag is that Gadget succeeds at like his entire thing is like the epitome of task failed successfully. So like he manages to bork things up really badly while at the same time being successful. I feel like that kind of works for Android 19 because like, oh yeah, he's managing to take care of Goku, but then what winds up happening is Vegeta shows up and then it becomes a gag fest. And then 17 and 18 would be Penny and Brain.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh. That generated a giggle. I needed a giggle. Arthur.
I want fan art of Penny as Android 18 beating the crap out of Vegeta.
Oh, man. Arthur, what if Kami didn't survive the Garlic Jr. saga? Dark Water Mist infects androids and Boo's pod, so Barbady's revival fails. Shall a small immune group on Kami's lookout? Oh, well, I'm just going to have to play the sound for that one. But I'll explain why. So basically, Garlic Jr. saga turns out to be the one that kills Kami. Piccolo dies. No more Dragon Balls. And then basically, yeah. I wish to use the Dragon Balls!
Oh, they're gone. They're gone, Master.
Oh. Oh, darn. Did not see that coming. Man, I'm incompetent.
So no Dragon Balls. So basically, he just used the Dark Water Mist just out of spite. So there you go. There you go. All right, Vulcan. In Hercules' What If Bulma and Yamcha had twins, Trunks and Bra, instead of just Trunks with Bra just being with her grandparents? Trunks and Pan would make a good couple. In terms of timing, maybe if they were roughly the same age. Just in personality, maybe Pan would be able to get Trunks out of his comfort zone, perhaps.
It really depends. It really depends on the point in the timeline more than anything. Like for me, age gap is less of an issue if both of the characters are adults or near enough as to make no difference, right? Mm-hmm. So if it was if it was a bad future scenario where Pan existed because it occurred later in the timeline, so Gohan still had the opportunity to meet Videl, and maybe Vegeta and Bulma hooked up earlier in the timeline to kind of shrink the age gap just a bit between Pan and Trunks. That might work, but there's very few scenarios where I can see a relationship between Pan and Trunks being anything other than kind of that sort of sibling-esque, maybe Pan has a little bit of a precocious crush on him, but it's not reciprocated sort of deal. Just because they're usually portrayed as being at this point where Trunks is more or less an adult at the same time that she's still a child, and that doesn't really work for the relationship. Yeah. You'd have to finagle it.
Yeah,
quite a bit.
You'd have to fudge it a bit.
As for the part of the question was about Trunks and Bulla being twins, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Bulla being present for the android situation, I think, kind of makes things more difficult for future Gohan, because he has to train two children but also be responsible for two different children. So I feel like it might have even caused some issues there. But in the end, you wind up in a situation where only one of them would be able to go back in time. So I think if you were presented with a scenario like that, what you'd wind up doing, right, is you'd wind up with a scenario where I think Bulla would be the one like Bulma and Trunks say oh, Trunks needs to go. Trunks needs to be the one who goes, whether it's just casual sexism, whether it's because she has a lower power level or something like that, right? It would be like that. But Bulla, we all know how headstrong Bulla is. She takes very, very much after her mother. I think she'd steal the time machine to go back herself. And then you'd wind up with a scenario where what ends up happening is, over the course of her time in the past, if you imagine that time runs at least semi-concurrently, because we never see Trunks arrive at the very same moment he left, right? He arrives at some later date, or at least slightly later date, and then heals up and kills the androids. So if you imagine that time's going a little bit concurrently, I imagine a scenario where Bulma steals the time machine to go back in time herself, and then what winds up happening is Bulma has to basically piece together from a box of scraps a second time machine for Trunks to use, and Trunks shows up, and that creates its own separate kind of drama.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, totally. Ice259 coming in with a $50 super chat. Thank you so much, buddy. What if every time they summoned the dragon, it demanded a sacrifice? That would be very dark for a kid's cartoon.
Like say, "You have summoned the eternal dragon. I require the blood of a young infant."
Would a middle-aged pig do?
Oh, Goku! Oh, Goku, you are...
You know, basically, it's they just have to come up with this thing. Oh, Sophie, you there? Oh.
Sorry, I was having internet problems, apparently.
Oh, well, it was certainly less chaotic than before, but...
Thank gosh.
Did you hear the what if? Did you hear what it was?
I heard something about the in order to wish on the Dragon Balls, you need a child blood sacrifice or something like that?
If the dragon demanded a sacrifice.
Or if the dragon demanded a sacrifice, I was like, okay. Well, I mean, it kind of depends. Like, are we going European folklore? And it's like, oh, you need to sacrifice a virginal maiden to me. At which point everybody looks at Bulma, and Bulma's like, don't look at me. or another situation where it's like, oh, you have to spill some blood, or you have to kill somebody in honor of the dragon, or something like that. I think what would wind up happening is you'd get a lot more like outright villain deaths, rather than like the villains being given an opportunity to redeem themselves.
Yeah, no.
So like,
because you want to get your return on your wish.
Yeah. So like, you'd have to write the villains a bit more evil and a bit more villainous, a bit more irredeemable. So like, you'd have to have Pilaf be like a somewhat more effective villain, and have him be a bit more evil, so that you could excuse killing him instead of turning him into a gag goldfish poop gang member of a recurring comedy bit, later on. With the Red Ribbon Army, same thing. King Piccolo, same thing. I think it would kind of diminish part of the theme of it, though, because. And you definitely wind up with certain characters that wouldn't stick around who otherwise would, like Vegeta especially. Vegeta has a lot of issues when it comes to what-ifery on account of the fact that he begins his life as a villain, and not just a villain, but an unrepentant one for a long time. He is very much unrepentant. So if you're in a scenario where like the heroes are killing the villains more frequently because like blood needs to be spilled in order to get their wish on the Dragon Balls, and like who knows how much extra blood would have to be spilled for the Namekian Dragon Balls, because they're bigger, they're better, they're too much for Mr. Incredible. Anyways, I don't think Vegeta would survive in that timeline.
No.
So.
No, definitely not. They wouldn't have given them the chance. But yeah, so thank you so much, Diced. Now back to main thing. We got Vulcan again. Why did Hercule and the others not go to Yardrat for training during the 3 years and found Broly? Okay, that first part of the question. In that what if, that would have been a bit too convenient. And also, it'd be just like, the heart virus and stuff like that. They would be wanting to make use of every single time frame that they had altogether. And Hercule had a plan to also use his dojo to help out the people, as in, give them the ability to, sense energy, have some basic key attacks, be able to fly, nothing too groundbreaking, but at least have a power level of maybe a few thousand, if they're lucky.
Be able to fly, nothing too groundbreaking.
Well, Videl was able to do it, and basically, going against the old Satan Dojo Madra,
no excuses.
So,
that's the new rap mantra of the Sutton Cast Dojo. No excuses.
That's such a good story beat. No excuses is such a good story beat for the development of Satan and the Satan Dojo as a whole. Exactly. I love it.
And then basically Vulcan also asked, what if Broly joined the Z Fighters during the Namek saga? Well, his power was already at like a couple 100,000 just normally. But basically, if he got nettled even slightly Frieza would have been toast. Like, Frieza would have been toast before he even got the chance to transform. That's just the long and the short of it, really. Nothing much else needs to be said.
And let's not even consider if Frieza or somebody else still managed to kill Paragus in that timeline.
Oh god!
Because we saw. Go ahead.
Play the sound. All right, guys. By the way, we've got about 5 minutes left on the. We've got the cutoff, and yeah, so we've got 5 minutes. This is your 5-minute warning. So if you want to get super chats, do it now. Season 2. Here's a funny idea. What if King Gurumes joins the dragon team after he was cured? Oh,
Gurumes, that's the one from Curse of the Blood Rubies, isn't it?
Yes. I'm not all that familiar with that.
I liked the concept behind Curse of the Blood Rubies. Curse of the Blood Rubies, as a lot of the DB movies were kind of a mishmash of the different story beats from the anime, right?
Yeah.
You basically have a villain in Curse of the Blood Rubies that's sort of you throw King Piccolo, Emperor Pilaf, and the Red Ribbon Army into a giant blender, and what you wind up with is a villain like Gurumes and his kingdom with its army, which is very, very much similar to, Red Ribbon Army knockoff. But he wants to cure himself with the Dragon Balls because he started like consuming these cursed items called blood rubies that are mined from the area where his kingdom is, and it turns him into a monster. And so he's trying to get the Dragon Balls to cure himself using the wish. But in the meantime, he's basically bleeding his country dry because he's having everybody basically strip mine it for blood rubies. And he sends his people out Red Ribbon Army style to try and secure the Dragon Balls. If Gurumes were to become like an ally after becoming good, I don't know what much he'd have to offer, because like his resources are very much the resources that were relevant during OG Dragon Ball era. Yeah. He was the ruler of a nation. He had control of like a standing army, and he had wealth and influence. But as a character, he wasn't particularly powerful. And like the point where he becomes sort of like a kaiju-esque monster in the movie Curse of the Blood Rubies, he loses his intelligence and is kind of just flailing about wildly, Ozaru style. So I mean, and even then, if he's cured, it's not like he can offer that power up to help in any way. So I mean, maybe his influence could be used to like keep people like King Furry and other officials of the government that have to be wondering like, hey, you guys from Kame House, that hermit island, you're attracting a lot of trouble to our planet. Can you stop?
Can you not, please? Oh man. All right.
Anyway,
APC. So cucumbers freak Beerus out. That means a ball of yarn and catnip should calm him down. Oh, totally. I mean, absolutely. Come on. Beerus was modeled after Toriyama's pet cat. So of course it would be. There has to be all those tropes. No. Super Dragon Ball Heroes. Beerus versus Cumber. Beerus runs away. Because Cumber.
Oh my gosh! Okay, how about this? If you're gonna go that deep into Mimi territory with this, then all you need is a laser pointer, and Beerus is no longer a threat.
Yeah, all the doors to his palace on his planet are cat flaps, just giant cat flaps. There you go. Right, Mean Crank. What if Goku and Kami's arrival on Earth were chronologically reversed? Well, Goku can only live 80 years, so Kami arrives, but Goku's long dead.
Well, here's an interesting question for you, okay?
Right.
Does being the Guardian of Earth come with any sort of life-extending perks? Because we kind of assume that Kami's long-lived because his species is long-lived, right? But here's the thing. We don't actually have a whole ton of the species to remark upon as far as knowing like just how long-lived they are outside of like two major characters, Kami and Guru, because like Piccolo himself is actually very young, and we don't know the ages of a bunch of the other Namekians of New Namek, the actual native Namekians. But like Guru's position is essentially the Namek equivalent of guardian of the planet, whereas Kami is also the guardian of Earth, and we already know that he's connected in some way to the deific pantheon, that is the gods and stuff like that. For all we know, becoming the guardian of Earth and taking on that sort of like mantle, right, could bestow an extension on life as far as longevity goes. Maybe not immortality necessarily, right. Though that could have been one of the reasons why Garlic Senior sought the mantle in the first place. If he was seeking immortality in the same way that his son later on does through the Dragon Balls.
Yeah,
and you got to remember, like, if you're taking the OG Dragon Ball as a concept, especially, the Dragon Balls in that timeline, at least per the movies, were capable of granting immortality, which, when you think about it, it's like, okay, well, that implies that immortality is within the purview of the Guardian of Earth. So there could be something at play there with the mantle. So they might be able to do something with that. But I mean, the question ultimately is like, what if you swapped Goku and I guess the nameless Namekian's arrival on the planet? Goku, unless he hit his head again, Goku would be a very bad choice for immigrants to Earth, and guardian, and especially a poor choice for the Guardian of Earth mantle back at that time, because he was wild, willful, and very, very, very much Saiyan.
Oh yeah.
It was only because of his association with Gohan that and the care and nurturing that he received that he grew up to be the person he was.
No, agreed.
Yeah.
Mazik comes in with, this isn't a what if, but you showed interest on a what if I suggested a while back. Don't feel you have to answer, but any chance of knowing how the what if Goku mental temporal switch between GT and original DB self? Well, we've not really gotten to that yet, but I do understand the idea of, like, if basically you had Kid Goku, but it was Dragon Ball Kid Goku in GT, that might have been more interesting. Like, you literally just stuck Kid Goku in a time machine, boom, there you are in GT. But you certainly could, if it was that case in terms of power, you'd have a kid that would have no idea how to use his body, and so would be basically out of commission. So it'd almost be just like a journey of self-discovery and go like, Chi-Chi, is that you? Man, you're old. And it's like, as in just the mentality of a 12-year-old. And everyone else is so much older. It'd be like weird.
That might actually serve as a decent springboard for better development of the relationship between Pan and Goku and GT as well. Like if you're swapping like mentally, like Goku reverts back to thinking he's the 12-year-old kid that he was, right?
Yeah.
If you're swapping it mentally, then it means that Goku's going to basically have to be retrained in everything that he learned in the time that he is now missing. And the only real people who would be able to do that are the people who are with him, which means he would become the pupil essentially of his granddaughter and Trunks, which could mean interesting things for like the course of his redevelopment as a character,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, I absolutely agree with that, Soph. And speaking of which, now the super chats are now closed. Thank you very much for your submissions. Please do not do super chats. We might, if we have, or if we'll just see how we go, because we're not even halfway through the list, so we are quite a ways in. So thank you all so much. Let's carry on. Homnix, don't worry. This is the cutoff for more super chats, so don't worry. You will get yours read. So the ones that are still on the docket, you will still have it done. Thanks, Sophie, for the clarification. Okay. Next one is Red Dragon. What if Roshi called on Ox King against King Piccolo? Roshi, let's say, yeah, this is a solid you owe me. So, can you help us out against this demon? Like,
Why, of course, Master. You. One punch. There you go. Now don't be a bad little demon again.
Seriously, because Ox King has a power level of 900. Remember?
Oh my gosh, some of those power levels.
It's just ridiculous. I mean, yeah, seriously. I mean, there's not much else to say. Ox King would come in, basically be all the sweetness and light, or he could be the complete badass King of Fire Mountain. Basically, launch all these attacks and basically just toast King Piccolo to a crisp. There'd be no Piccolo Jr. So, well, that takes care of that. Let me know if you need me again, Master. There you go.
It's funny because Toriyama tends to have this thing where he takes these characters that are minor characters, and he either he gives them something, like he retcons them to either be stronger or more important in some vague way than they really were, or like in the case of Arale and stuff like that, he creates a diminutive gag manga-esque character with the power to destroy the universe, essentially,
Yeah.
So you wind up with these scenarios where you can create what ifs, what if Yajirobe actually trained hard, and what if the Ox King defeated Demon King Piccolo, and it winds up being utterly silly, but still makes at least some degree of sense, because Toriyama always winds up making these characters that are just oh yeah, there's hidden layers there, but they don't like to fight as much as people like Goku and other people do, or they're just lazy, like Yajirobe, who just kind of wants to hang out and eat.
Yeah, it's just
yeah, I could, but I don't want to.
Yeah, pretty much that.
I could do that if I wanted, but I don't.
There you go. Okay. Mean Crank. What if Yamcha learned instant transmission wrong and ended up traveling throughout time, space, and other universes purely by accident? Bill and Ted. Yeah. Yamcha becomes the excellent one and is played by a Keanu Reeves. There you go. Whoa, that's most bogus. There you go. Basically, it would just be Bill and Ted, the Dragon Ball equivalent. There you go. I like Connor says, sounds like something Yamcha would do. Yeah, sounds about right. Sounds about right.
Be excellent to each other.
Exactly. Alright, Red Dragon. What if post-Cell Gohan asked to separate his human side from his Saiyan side? Arbitrary lesson on accepting both sides and train and study in equal amounts. So basically, he splits into two people, like Gohan the Defender of Earth and Gohan the Scholar. I think Chi-Chi would be a bit conflicted, but then ultimately it means that Gohan becomes the Scholar and they can probably fuse again at any time if they needed to. You just make a clone of Gohan, one's a fighter and one isn't.
But I could see that becoming an issue. Honestly, it would be an interesting story arc if you did the sort of. It reminds me a lot of arcs that they've done in DC and Marvel Comics, right? In some universes, for example. Power Girl is a clone of Supergirl who was basically created to just be a warrior defender of Earth, right? With none of the extra bells and whistles, She doesn't have any of the social upbringing or anything like that. She's just a warrior. And you've also got the various different scenarios where where Clark Kent tries to separate his life from Superman, or Bruce Wayne and Batman become separate people, so to speak.
Yeah.
It happens a lot in DC, actually. It's more so than in Marvel, I think. But you could actually play with that and make a twist on it, where the warrior clone that gets created starts to have issues, and so what winds up happening is the moral of the story becomes don't separate yourself into two completely different people just because you have conflicting interests. Instead, try to find the balance, and that's what say Scholar Gohan has to do. He has to decide, I just need to find the right balance of Clark Kent and Superman in this scenario, where where you where he has to, you know, get back into his training so that he could defeat the now evil Gohan, you know, maybe even an alternative Gohan, like an alternative to the Goku Black scenario or something like that. Like you could have it be like a scenario where the bad future happens and Gohan, instead of building a time machine, Bulma cloned Gohan, and then when the androids were defeated, one of them decided, okay, I'm going to be a scholar like I always wanted, and the other one was like, no, we're warriors, what are you doing, man? And then that's how, like, the Goku, in this case Gohan Black thing happens. So I mean, there's stuff that you could play around with if you kind of workshop it.
Yeah, certainly. All right, Vulcan. What if Future Ranch went to the past to help Trunks? If Future Ranch were actually decided to go and actually help Trunks, yeah, if she was in the condition to do it, her power level is similar to Trunks, similar skill set, maybe slightly different techniques, but yeah, basically the extra pair of muscle could certainly help against the androids, against 17 and 18, but again, it would bring down the stakes a bit because you just have one extra Super Saiyan. It looks cool and all, but it wouldn't really serve the story at that particular time. And also, it'd be very incredibly selfish of her because it would leave the future utterly defenseless. I mean, Trunks does it because there is literally nobody else. He has no choice. Whereas Ranch would knowingly leave Bulma to her own devices, and it's like that's a very risky thing to do. So it would be quite self-centered in a way.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I mean, even in the canon, there was never any intention to send more than just one person. And at the time, they thought that they were going to be able to build the time machine and then send back one while one other person defends the future, because they couldn't be certain of how the time stream works, whether or not, if you leave to go to the past and then whether or not you'd return to the exact moment you left or not. And they kind of prove that that's not the case with the fact that time kind of proceeds along still to at least some degree, where a few days or weeks even pass in the future timeline concurrently with the past timeline. Like, time still flows regardless. So they built the time machine under the belief that one person was going to be there to protect the future while the other person left. And the only reason that didn't happen in canon is because Gohan freaking died.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Papa Podo. While Paragus is a bad father and would probably be a worse father-in-law, I love the ironic idea of him being the universe's greatest grandpa if he lives. Oh yes, if Paragus ever got to live or something like that, yes, if he did survive, he'd be the universe's. He would be I think that would be a redemption arc, like basically, Broly managed to actually step up and actually be, under control. Okay.
I imagine this scenario like Paragus is like that really, really like hard to please, impossible to please father during like all of like Broly's life, but like the first time he really softens, like I could picture it in comic form almost, like where you just draw him panel after panel just being a total hard ass to Broly, but then like later on Broly and Chilai have their first kid and Paragus gets to hold his grandchild and he just kind of starts to tear up.
Yeah. No, it's a very wholesome potential scene. Vulcan. My brother turns 31 on Saturday, so birthday shout out. Happy birthday, Vulcan's brother. Hope you have a good one. Mazik88. What if Gohan asked Goku to teach him instant transmission and thus spirit control while in the room of spirit and time? Well, we do know that Goku is a good teacher, if he ever chooses to teach, if he ever does. But basically, cool. Megani, our moderators in the chat. Hey, Meg.
Yay!
Yeah, so basically, if Gohan actually learned instant transmission, it would probably take longer to do so than it would with Pibara, because Pibara is the master of it, obviously. So it probably would take them most of the time in the Room of Spirit and Time. Unless they could use that, they use like the 3 years to learn it or something like that. And then Spirit Control, it would certainly increase the efficacy of Gohan, like in terms of concentration of ki. But as you say in the Room of Spirit and Time, that would be a bit of a waste of, ironically, time, because it would take up most of their allotted, schedules. They probably would need a second year in the time chamber. They would to make up for it, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
Hannah Rowan. What if Kid Trunks grabbed the time machine in the Goku Black saga wanting to help? How could seeing what could have been his life affect him? You know what? That's actually a good idea. Make this, self-centered, arrogant little sod go to the future. Because you sort of got that, when he basically wished his brother, his future self good luck. If we just took that up a notch and him actually seeing the the destroyed future, that would probably actually make him grow up a bit. Like,
oh my gosh, you could use that. You could use that as the method of trying to find the balance between Kid Trunks and Future Trunks that they've never quite managed to get. Because, like, everybody, the fans always loved Future Trunks, right?
Yeah.
But, like, Kid Trunks always annoyed the crap out of people. And then, like, GT Trunks, it's like, oh, he looks like Future Trunks, but he's not Future Trunks. So you're just going to be disappointed. And so what you could do is you could have the bad future that, like, Kid Trunks winds up in the bad future and gets stuck there and has to mature. And so he becomes more like Future Trunks because he's stuck in this bad future for however long, even if it's just, a month, 2 months, he has this opportunity to kind of experience things from the point of view that his alternate timeline counterpart has, and it could serve as a means of kind of maturing him up and finding that balance between his character and Future Trunks.
Right. No, definitely. And
take Goten to the future. Red Dragon Force 2, take Goten with him.
And Hannah's in it again with, what if Broly was sent to Yardrat instead of Vampa? Well, like what we did in the What If Broly Was the Android saga, it would be basically used to try and control his mentality and basically be able to control his mind so he can at least keep his rage under control a bit more. That would be the goal of it. I mean, we basically said the spirit control wouldn't be as effective, but it would certainly at least give Broly the resources to try and keep him under control without the need of a collar, as we said in that What If. So you can check out that What If you want to check it out. Hannah Rowan, what if Juro had more androids, making 13, 14, and 15 canon and reprogramming Eta? A more Terminator-esque android saga, perhaps? Well, it would certainly... You could, in theory, make, like, of the lore, as in, like, they are the first wave of androids. So basically, it'd be like that. So I would say it would certainly be like, they're the beginner. They're just the starter event. Then you have 19 and 20. Then you have 18, 17. You're basically working up the numbers. It would certainly add
it might go on a little too long. It's just the big thing. Because, I mean, like, even the Android / Cell saga in canon, a lot of people kind of felt was a bit long-winded on account of the fact that they kept changing up who the villain was.
Yeah.
If you started earlier in the numbering with the numbers of androids and still managed to find your way to work up and then down and then, all around all of the various different androids so that everyone got their time on stage before Cell showed up, I think the saga would have probably worn out its welcome.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is the case. The patience threshold would be relatively low. Well, yeah. Baxter Face. Oh, that's a new guy. So, welcome, Baxter. What if Planet Vegeta wasn't destroyed? Well, basically, if Planet Vegeta wasn't destroyed, it would certainly mean that, Goku goes off, finds out eventually that Vegeta does exist, but it would probably mean that Vegeta... Well, no, Raditz would still arrive, but then Vegeta would still come to, like, check out what Raditz was up to. It would just mean eventually you'd then have this period where, Goku would eventually meet Bardock, because Bardock would still be alive. He had these premonitions. So basically, Bardock would be compelled to go to Namek, because, like, from what he can see from his visions, and they would be enhanced over the years, that Frieza and Goku are meant to meet on planet Namek. So that's when they meet. And then Bardock would see that his boy was the legendary Super Saiyan. if he survived.
And that's if you're going with premonition Bardock, because you could also just do the situation where, like, let's say, okay, like Planet Vegeta doesn't get blown up, but say like Frieza was considering it, like legit considering it, like he still gave the order, he gave like the all call and called all of the Saiyans back, and like he waited until the very last minute and then said, you know what? I think I'm going to be merciful today and not destroy all of the monkeys.
But I can
We'll save that for some. I could easily do it. You know, maybe make an example just to kind of say, like, because like one of the big reasons he did it was because he knew that King Vegeta III had ambitions. You know, he had huge ambitions. He wanted to get out from under the thumb of the cold / Frieza force. So like he did it because he knew that the Saiyans might be a threat under King Cold. So like what he might do is he might decide to just pull an Egan instead and be like, look, you guys have a bit of a problem here, especially with your leadership. So I'm going to kill one of you and make an example out of maybe, say, an entire planet or something, just to show like he'd find a derelict planet, like maybe, or something like that, or even just a moon, and he would just utterly obliterate it with a flick of the wrist, just to kind of show them this is the power that you're dealing with. I'm going to kill your king. I'm going to keep one of the children of your king as a hostage against you, like maybe Tarble or something, which would give Tarble a good actual point of existing, and then install the successor with a regency, which would be Vegeta the Fourth, the Vegeta we all know and love. So what would wind up probably happening is you'd have a much more loyal, much more obedient Saiyan race, but there would be these other outlier groups inside of it, probably like rebel groups, and you could even use like Bardock could be one of them, because he kind of saw the writing on the wall, and he's got that sort of mental strategic mindset of like he kind of notices when stuff is up, and like when he starts to see the signs again and it starts to look like, oh, maybe Frieza's getting ready to destroy us this time, maybe he sets up like an underground resistance movement, and it's composed of Saiyans like his squad, Raditz, Turles, people like that, And what do? They need some extra muscle, because not all of the Saiyans are on board, because King Vegeta the Fourth is like obsessively loyal to Frieza. So what do? They go to Earth, because that's where Kakarot was sent as a kid. And they find out, hey, there's a bunch of other fighters on Earth. And you could establish a huge story with all of those kinds of concepts.
Well, why don't you make a note of it, Soph, and we can potentially do that as a very simple what if. So,
I'll make a note of it.
Let's make a note of it. All right, Darren, what if Bardock sent some members of his team and some other low-class Saiyans of like up to 500 power level and a pregnant Guinea for off-planet, but not Earth, after a delay with Frieza getting to them? So basically, Bardock, in a premonition gut feeling, basically says to these weak Saiyans, you better get off the planet, and then to Guinea, if he actually gives a damn, about Guinea, or just like says, oh, you're just one of the weak ones. So, that's just like, no, it's not because, it's like, I don't care, it's just you're one of the weak ones. So it's like, that would be just like, oh, oof, ow, okay. But basically, it would just be a case of like, oh, it makes sure that the Saiyan race is still alive. They're that weak that they would fly under the radar of Frieza, and it would just be like a case for them to rebuild and try and get some sense of, dominance again, free from Frieza's thumb, or at least for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, certainly. Okay, Baxter Face. What if Bardock became the legendary Super Saiyan and took control of the Frieza Force? Well, that sort of actually happens in episode of Bardock, doesn't it? Basically, he just thinks he's the legendary Super Saiyan, takes out Lord Chilled, and basically the Empire is sort of done in one fight.
Still such a stupid name.
It's still...
Lord Chilled.
Yeah, it's like, what?
Oh, God.
Oh, dear. Alpha 165. What if Goku is found by Vikings or maybe Spartans? There is actually, Geek for Fun. They do Dragon Ball DC, but they do this interesting blend of Norse mythology and Dragon Ball. So look up Geek for Fun on YouTube, and you will get your what you are looking for. Paparazzi, what if Yama made Goku fill in for him for a week? Oh, Goku would be too trusting. Like,
So you say that you died protecting millions?
Yes, I protected millions, all right. Millions of Zenny.
Aw, that's a sweet story. You go to heaven. Next.
like he
No, it's because he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to do any of the paperwork, so he doesn't actually check the files or anything like that. He just kind of takes people at their word.
Yeah, exactly. Because you get in movie 12, Yama is like, he just goes like, hell, 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 hell. He's that done at that point. You just go like, next, next, next. He's just so done. Alright, Red Dragon. What if Izuku trained with Roshi before meeting All Might? Well, as we know, Roshi, when it comes to kids, he is very straight. He's very straight-laced and does not mess around with them or anything like that. So basically, you just get Roshi teaching him the basics, basically getting his martial art, his core strength up and stuff like that. And it would just mean that when he meets All Might and starts training with All Might, he has a better bridge to do it, and he basically does not destroy his limbs every time he tries to use all for one. No, or one for all.
Yeah,
sorry.
you kind of have to remember, unless you're working with a timeline of did Izuku train with did Izuku train under the tutelage of the Turtle Hermit for years, is different to say Izuku still meets him that same middle school year, so only has a couple months worth of training with him. The most you can really get out of that for a standard human, especially a human who's kind of behind the curve, physically speaking, like Izuku, is you'd wind up with the physical regimen, the carrying the milk bottles, the splashing about in the water, the carrying the turtle shell, those kinds of things that would build up his physical strength and endurance and his stamina and stuff like that, which would mean that he'd probably be a better vessel for One for All when he received it, meaning he could use a lot more of the power without hurting himself right out the gate, more than likely. But if you're thinking oh, would he know ki control? Would he know this? Would he know that? Well, no, because one of the only reasons Goku learned ki control so quickly was because he didn't realize it at the time, but his Saiyan heritage made him predisposed to it. And Goku's a battle genius. He looks at Roshi perform the Kamehameha and is able to more or less mimic it in a matter of 5-10 minutes or whatever. And even then it's still not very strong. Other characters, it takes them a lot of training before they ever even really get to that point. Krillin especially, Krillin doesn't know ki control for a long time because Roshi doesn't even address it in his routines during the early portions of the training. And flight as a technique is not something that the Turtle School teaches. It's a crane technique. So Roshi wouldn't be teaching Izuku how to fly with ki. So you'd wind up more or less just with an Izuku who has martial arts experience, who's stronger, who has more stamina and endurance, and is faster. But he wouldn't have all the extra energy attacks and bells and whistles.
No. It would just be a better base, in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Paparazzi, what if Ox was a former potential GOD who was later chosen as Kami's replacement? Oh, Ox King, Guardian of Earth. He'd be a good one, because he's already a king, so he already knows how to rule. He'd be benevolent.
And he's very
god.
benevolent.
Oh, yes, he'd be a benevolent god. And he'd have a good base power level, so he can actually, he could genuinely defend the Earth for a lot of things that would happen day to day. No, I think he'd be a good choice. He'd certainly be basically, hey, my dad-in-law's god. Okay. Well, actually, in the future, I end up being a god, too. Well, godlike powers, but, that's kind of neat. EM79. I don't know if this has been asked, but what if the Red Ribbon Army turned good? Well, if they ended up actually being benevolent and actually ended up, being a good, means of, defense contracts and stuff like that, they'd eventually get being bought out by Capsule Corp. Because that would happen. Yeah.
They would either be bought out, or what would happen is you'd wind up with even if they were like quote unquote good, as in like not actively trying to take over the world, that sort of thing. If they hadn't converted their corporate entity into a private military force, right?
Yeah.
If that's where you were going, you'd probably still wind up with a corporate war, because one of the things that a lot of people like don't realize is that the Red Ribbon Army was Capsule Corp's like only big competitor as far as production of anything, but especially the Hoi Poi capsule goes. When the Red Ribbon Army was destroyed and rendered defunct, and all of that intellectual property and manufacturing rights and all that other kind of stuff when it comes to the Hoi Poi capsules got more or less bought up by Capsule Corp. Capsule Corp gained a monopoly on what is essentially the production of the entire planet's resources, because capsules are just the lifeblood of the world of Dragon Ball, So Capsule Corp is essentially the power behind the throne when it comes to the government of Earth.
Yeah.
And if the Red Ribbon Army hadn't been rendered defunct because of that, right? They would have had enough technological acumen and resources to be a legit competitor to Capsule Corp for a lot longer, especially if you wound up in a situation where say Pilaf decides, you know what, I need to be able to reaccrue my resources. The hunt for the Dragon Balls is going nowhere for me right now. I'm going to apply my own intellectual mechanical engineering genius to, say, working alongside men like Dr. Frapp and Dr. Giro and stuff like that, and make the Red Ribbon Army a major competitor. Right. You instead of winding up with a martial arts shonen anime, you wind up with this dark seinen corporate war espionage and intrigue anime where Capsule Corp and the Red Ribbon Army are constantly trying to vie for power behind the scenes.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Paparazza, what if Goku tapped into the power of creation for a new Super Saiyan form, with energy turning into matter as the gimmick? Well, Shin would be put out of a job, that's for sure, because that's basically his job, supposedly. But basically, he'd just be like, he'd be almost like Rose when she basically looks into the time vortex. Like, I bring life. Basically, brings people back from the dead. Creates new life. Basically, is God. That would be game-breaking. And Goku would have the fortitude to be able to handle the power because, Rose could do it briefly, but Goku's a whole other level. So if you had that, he'd be really, really efficient with it. And again, Shin would be out of a job. Goku could do what basically a Supreme Kai could do. So energy turning into matter. Basically, you just it's like sort of like what Golden Experience Requiem is, but in a different way. Instead of just using it just negating things, you basically turn something to zero mass. You basically turn matter into energy. So basically just this, you just basically tear them apart. You make them not feel so good.
What is Golden Experience Requiem?
Stan from Part 5, Golden Wind.
Okay, because I was gonna say it sounds a little bit extravagant enough to be a JoJo thing.
It's basically the most broken stand in the entire series. Basically, it can basically turn anything to zero. You try and do something, it didn't happen, and it never will happen. So it's just it's pretty game breaking. Let's just say that.
Yes, sounds like it.
Yeah, Paparazza. What if Namek's explosion launched Goku out of Universe 7 and he wound up in Universe 2 and trained with the kamikaze fireballs instead of Yardrat? Well, he basically would then understand the power of love. He'd come back to Universe 7 and be really romantic with Chi-Chi. As in
oh, Chi-Chi, I've been such a fool to not understand the power of love!
I'm imagining that Chi-Chi gets like Goku comes back and Chi-Chi experiences this, and she goes to Bulma a week later and is like, I need you to change him back. I need you to erase his memory of his time in that other universe because he's driving me insane.
Oh, yeah, no, I'd see that. Alright, Herbert Covington. What if King Kai trained like Goku? If King Kai basically trained like Goku, it'd be like, he'd be just like an immortal, but basically he'd have that power level incredibly high. But it's just something like really crazy, but you know. I suddenly now have an appreciation for muffins. I crave baked goods.
Now you know that training's working.
Aha! Red Dragon. What if Kid Goku wished for Bulma to be more like him, making her a Saiyan, and the first Saiyan-tist on Earth? Well, yeah, Rule 34 people would be very happy about it. Female Saiyan who's incredibly smart. You basically have the complete package for some people. But I imagine probably if she found out and basically felt different in her body, she would then, you know, once she found out that Goku was a Saiyan and put 2 and 2 together, she would study the heck out of it. Like, she'd become her own personal experiment. She would definitely find it an interesting twist, let's say. Paparacha. What if Gohan developed an addiction to death metal karaoke? You'd have a Gretzko, but in Dragon Ball. Basically,
I was gonna say, imagining Gohan taking out his frustrations at Goku or some other person in the karaoke bar with death metal.
Yeah, and basically, like, Goku goes like,
Gohan's pretty angry, isn't he? Don't know why.
Yeah, it'd be cathartic, that's for sure. Herbert, what if flying was an ability exclusive to certain characters like Frieza or the androids? I'm afraid I'll have to play the sound. Unfortunately, it's just, it would really kind of break the show, because like the androids could fly. They would have to find other ways to use it, and sort of like again with JoJo in part 3, because at the end, Dio and Jotaro's fight, they are flying essentially, but they're basically saying, oh no, they're just jumping and using their innate energy and stando energy to fly and levitate. That's why. So I imagine they would have to find some way of using their ki to propel themselves. You know, technically not flying. But in a way, Bukujutsu, that's what they're doing. They're using their ki to propel themselves. So, you know, they'd have to find another way to think Latry to make it work. But if it was like straight up flying, yeah, no, they'd be toast. Podo meant to say this after his Paragus super chat. Paragus says, I've only known my granddaughter for 5 minutes, but if anything happened to her, I would destroy everyone and then myself. Wow, he's committed. He's very committed, Grampy.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Oh. Paparacha.
He's Grandpa again.
Ah. Oh, that's good. That's good. That is good. All right, Paparacha. What if Tien survived the Saiyans but had still been disarmed? Robot or key hand? Or overuse the forearm technique? I'd say key hand. Key hand would be cool. Like, he then has to like use like create a hand out of his own ki, because it's like robotic arm. That's all very well and good. No, make a hand basically born of energy. That'd be awesome. Like Dodon hand. That'd be really neat. Gingerbeard31. Hey Masako, what if Goten was female? Would she and Trunks be a couple? Also, you're my favorite DB YouTuber. Love ya. Aw, thanks Gingerbeard. If Goten was female, yes, she and Trunks would be a couple. They would be. Eventually. They would just be childhood friends, and in the world of anime, you've got like a very good chance of your childhood friend to become a love interest in the future. There would just be this like, will they, won't they? Girls are gross and all that stuff, but I still kind of like you, I guess. Like, again, I could see Lucia and Jenna having fun with this. I could see those two having good fun with this if we did a skit out of it. Kirby. Could she might be the same race as Jason Salza? Hard to say. Unless they have multicolored skin, or basically they live in the world that's equivalent to Doug. You know, they're all different color skins and stuff like that. So, maybe if it was that.
This is a time machine. Very
Expensive.
very.
Yeah. Yeah, just, and instead of Kikuchi's soundtrack, it's just just like low key Scar. Goku every time.
Oh
Dear Journal, today I had a fight with Vegeta. I don't think he was really particularly liking me, but in the end, I think this was really good.
And yeah,
I could imagine it. I can imagine it a little bit easier if it was if it was based around Gohan.
yeah.
Because
I know.
then you have Gohan trying to get through high school, but like Goku as well as like always trying to teach life lessons.
Yeah. But you know that Yamcha, instead of Cat Loves Food, his song would be "Away You, Killer Tofu." It would be.
I actually know the words to that song.
Oh, well, you go like, I need more allowance, you.
Oh my
I
god.
need more
The
allowance.
beats were legit a fun, like, they were fun music.
Yeah. That was legitimately fun. Yeah.
Mhm.
Sam. Hey, Masako. What if Broly was sent to Earth with Goku and throughout the series everyone assumes they're brothers? That is until Raditz shows up. Oh yeah, I can imagine them assuming that they were brothers of some sort. And if Broly could control his temper, then, they'd be basically, anarchy and stuff like that. Or, Nichan or something like that. There'd be that connection. They'd be basically in sync. And then the revelation that Broly wasn't his brother, that would break Goku considerably more. Like, yeah, he still has a brother, but...
See, then all they'd have to do, though, is wind up getting those bits.
Sorry, you broke up there, sorry.
Give me just...
Oh.
Hear me?
Yeah, we can. Just,
Okay.
You just broke up for a sec there.
What I was saying is that it would be like that aspect.
Oh,
Like,
I
hey,
think you
you know-
cut out again. Oh. How about now? Is that alright?
Okay, let's try this again.
Okay.
An
right.
older, more experienced character would teach them that the lesson is that family isn't all about blood relation. It's about it. The family is the people who you choose to embrace as family, just as friends are the people you choose to embrace as friends. And that's the lesson that they would have. It doesn't matter if Raditz claims to be Goku's brother by blood. The brother that matters, the brotherhood that matters, is the brotherhood between the two characters who grew up with each other.
Exactly. He may have been your father, boy, but he weren't your daddy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
The blood spilled among friends is thicker than the water of the womb.
Exactly. Kane Calcerane. Selena reacting to her fans in the comments. Oh, Celine. It's like,
Ah, yes, perfect juice for the next 10
That's the one, Mazik.
yes, absolutely. I can't wait for part 13. Perfect Celine. Oh, that would be fun. Definitely going to enjoy that. Ollie Young. What if the canon villains got replaced by the movie villains? What kind of different approach would the story make? Thanks. From Wales. Ah, thanks, Ollie. Very much obliged. Basically, if the movie villains were in there, they would certainly be more flamboyant, and it'd be nice to see how they would react if they weren't just suddenly destroyed by the spirit bomb. Like, you'd have Vegeta being replaced with Turles. You would have Frieza being replaced by Cooler. And like Guru instead be a more benevolent Lord Slug. Or, if the DBZ canons are to be believed, just Guru
A not
and
so
Slug.
benevolent Lord Slug.
No, Guru and Slug, the evil twin Namekians.
I always liked the idea that Guru was just like Slug. He just it was like all in his past, and so he's been like sweeping it under the rug his whole life.
Well, now remember, Guru's the evil one.
That's right.
Sincerely, your evil half.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Alright, Kirby. What if Cell Timeline Bulma went to Future Trunks' time? What if Cell Timeline Bulma went to future Trunks' time.
As in the present day Bulma went time traveled into the bad future?
I guess. I think. I'm. That's my best guess.
Well, I'm not entirely certain. I'm not entirely certain what it would accomplish, because
unless no. That's because Perfect Cell comes from a totally different timeline.
Oh.
Yeah. So
okay.
So that Bulma goes to future Trunks' time. Yeah,
interesting, but I'm having trouble seeing where you could kind of like develop a lasting, engaging narrative with that. Because I mean, if Cell's timeline, right? If Cell's timeline, he killed Trunks and stole the time machine. Bulma would still be there, obviously, but I guess the implication here is that because bad future Bulma died in her timeline, then in the Cell timeline, Bulma from the Cell timeline would travel laterally. I'm very. Oh no, I've gone cross-eyed.
Oh, okay. Basically, I'd probably say that Bulma would basically, try and like. No, my brain's gone as well. Oh, okay. Let's carry on. Owen McPherson.
You're the British one. You're the one who should be saying, I've gone cross-eyed.
Owen McPherson. What if Broly was raised on Frieza Planet 419? I only need to answer this with one sentence. He could see the future. There you go. He could see the future. Martin Trevino. What if Frieza, Cell, and Boo were the good guys, but the Z-Warriors were the bad guys? Well, in theory, the bad guys view themselves as the good guys. So basically, Frieza is just like, well, this galaxy would have been in complete and utter anarchy if it weren't for my sweeping judgment calls. It's just those filthy monkeys were getting in the way of the vision and trying to destroy the economy as it is. I am trying to do everyone a favor. Selfish monkeys. Cell basically said, I am the ultimate perfection. I am trying to destroy anything that is not perfect in my own way. And then Boo was just like, Boo want fun. Boo, you mean you don't play with Boo? That's basically it. That's how they view it.
Everyone is the hero of their own story, but I think they're being a little more literal in this sense.
I know. They're basically Frieza.
But
go on.
Here's the question, okay? Where do you start? Okay, because I mean, you got OG Dragon Ball, you got Dragon Ball Z, you got GT, Super, wherever. Where do you start with the whole, like, these characters are evil, these characters are good bit? Because, I mean, when you think about it on the grand scale of things, starting from Dragon Ball, like, characters like Frieza and Cell and stuff like that, they don't show up for quite a while. So, like, if this was a Justice Lords scenario, right, like in DC Comics, where you've got all the good superheroes are actually fascist dictators in this other timeline, right? The most I could see is, like, there would have to be one key turning point event, right? There would have to be one key turning point event, like the death of the Flash in Justice League, where they're already established as heroes at first, and then they become good. And then, like, these other characters that existed at one point in time are either brought back or have undergone some kind of character development that leaves them as more heroic counterparts, right?
Yeah.
So the most I could probably see is, like, let's say, like, something happens during the Majin Buu arc, probably, right? Mm-hmm. Majin Buu arc. Maybe a bunch of people die and they're not able to be brought back, including but not limited to, like, the heart and soul of the teams, right? Like, Goten and Trunks, like, all of the kids would have to be gone, because they're definitely a morality chain for a lot of the characters. Chaozu definitely gone to make Tien decide to go back to the darkness. these characters would have to die, and then they would probably all be under the leadership of, I'm gonna say, Gohan, an evil Gohan, right? He's the Superman equivalent in this scenario, the Ultraman, Ubermensch, or whatever you want to call him, equivalent of this scenario.
Right.
So what you'd wind up happening is you'd probably want to use movie villains instead. You'd want to use characters like Broly and Cooler and maybe Slug, maybe not Slug. Maybe you could do something with, say, Piccolo or an offshoot of Piccolo, or even Dende, or an offshoot of Dende. Hercule would be a good one. He's not necessarily a villain, but I think he'd be a good character to kind of apply to that. Or maybe he's even dead too, because you've got the Gohan and Videl thing. Start with movie villains. Maybe bring Cell back, like via some kind of science technobabble.
Yeah.
And I think the overthrow would basically be them trying to like fix the timeline. You'd want to do like a Future Trunks thing with it as well. And you'd have to fix the timeline by getting it back on track by stopping that event that happened in the past. But that's about the only scenario I can kind of think up for it. Maybe somebody else could do it a bit better.
No. Paparacha, what if one of the Black Star Dragon Balls landed on Vampa? Well, you'd have probably, at that point in the timeline, Paragus would probably be dead. Like, he would have died of old age.
Yeah, I mean, he's already looking old by the time DB Super Broly starts. So he's got to be getting close to hitting that point because.
Yeah, they're basically Broly would be all alone. He probably wouldn't be that crazy, but he would certainly be like, he would certainly help. You know, he'd be happy to see another Saiyan, but they would just have to be very careful with Yeah, they would. Gobi mentioned that he might not be mentally sound. That's very true, but they'd have to be very, very careful how they.
Are we assuming that the events of Dragon Ball Super Broly happened, or is this a scenario where
it's basically GT?
It didn't happen. Okay, well then you could do is you could wait a little bit, right? You could wait a little bit on the timeline for GT, right? Mm-hmm. So that Pan isn't like however old she was, 12 or something like that, younger. Wait like 5 years. So that she's 17, maybe 18 or something like that.
Yeah.
And you could present it as a Tarzan and Jane scenario. Or you could do a situation where it's more of a where it's more of a what's that movie? What's that movie with it's Sean Astin and Pauly Shore and Brendan Fraser, Encino Man, where they find a frozen caveman buried in Sean Astin's backyard, and they're trying to teach him how to be a member of society. You know, teaching him language, teaching him how to go to school and do all the social things. You could have it be kind of like that as they go from planet to planet. They're also trying to teach this cave Saiyan, how to not only be a part of their team, you know, for battle and stuff like that, but also be a productive social member of society. And yes, Megane-chan, that is a real movie. It is called Encino Man, and it's actually really funny.
Oh, nice. Paparacha, what if Kakarot was the older brother and Raditz was sent to Earth? Well, based on Raditz's nature, he'd probably be a bit more resourceful, less intimidated, but then regain gain confidence in being stronger than pretty much anyone on the planet. So he would actually probably thrive there. And then you get this brother who may be weaker, but basically is much nastier, and plays to Raditz's weakness and basically dents his confidence. So it's about Raditz essentially staying on target. So it'd be a really interesting use. Kakarot may be weaker than Raditz at this point, but he has the emotional upper hand. And it balances out. So that could be an interesting one. I would do that if that were me. Sam Hennis, what if Frieza and Cooler were twins, and despite being evil, they genuinely liked and cared for each other? I imagine probably it'd be one of those love-hate relationships. they understand why each other exists, and they both go under the idea of like, oh, father was such a fool, trying to think he could create the perfect clone. Like, they'd be, it's like the thing in DBZ movie 5, daddy monkey this, daddy monkey that, as in like, they would certainly have that affinity in a way, but it's just that thing of like, cut from the same cloth. They can't truly hate one another. Like, they don't like each other sometimes, and they can argue, but ultimately, they're bros.
You could also have it be a situation where like they're both like still one's good, one's evil, or one's good, one's neutral, maybe winding up on different sides of the coin when it comes to succession, control of the empire, all that other kind of stuff. But like if they were legit twins, you could do a scenario kind of like in Fire and Blood. There's two Kingsguard that are described during the Dance of the Dragons, named Auric and Eric, and they fought on different sides of the war, and they wound up meeting each other in battle. And like the songs say, oh yeah, they both declared their love and brotherhood for one another, and then fought each other for hours in a sword duel for the ages. But like you could have a scenario kind of like that if they're actually loving, caring siblings who care for each other. You could still present some kind of conflict that stems from either like loyalties to different factions, or differing fundamental beliefs. But you could still have them have that relationship where like, you seem a decent fellow, I hate to kill you. You seem a decent fellow, I hate to die, sort of situation.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just like unfortunate, as it were. Okay, let's see. Next one. Tattered Shield. Yeah, Tattered Shield. What if the legend of the Super Saiyan didn't exist? The form would still exist, but not the legend. Would Frieza even destroy Planet Vegeta? Or... well, if he got... yeah, I would say so, because even if he got intel that there was a transformation that could make Saiyans, like, much stronger than they were, he would certainly still want to put them in their place. So, yeah, you don't have the legend, but it doesn't... it just makes it maybe less of a disappointment when you suddenly get the Super Saiyan bargain sale. Like, you just go, oh, it's just an evolution of what Saiyans can do. Oh, wow, our lot have really come on far. Like, you feel almost pride for them, instead of like, oh, some legend this is. Oh, silly monkeys and their legends and their PlayStation 2s and French fried potatoes. But yeah, that will answer your question, Tattered. Axel Jade. What if everyone in Dragon Ball was a character in Pokemon? Regular human Pokemon trainers, same personalities and appearances. Go. Oh, Goku would have a fighting type, being a fighting type gym leader. Vegeta, probably electric, because he's all about the key attacks.
Goku would be a fighting type with at least one primate in his group, and one dragon that knows Hyper Beam.
Yes. Frieza would be psychic. Yeah,
Frieza would definitely. I mean, come on. I mean, like, could you not pick Frieza? Frieza's gonna be walking around with Mewtwo. Like, this is just how it works.
Is that
okay?
Frieza. And I just love to hear Vegeta go, "Come on, Electabuzz, give him a Thunderbolt."
And I like to imagine that Gohan would be would have an unevolved Eevee that it takes a long time until like Gohan figures out like what he wants to do with himself as far as like the direction he wants to go, and Eevee kind of reflects that eventually they decide to evolve Eevee to whichever, and it would probably wind up being like a Sylveon, but just because of love, friendship, all of that kind of stuff. But like an unevolved Eevee for Gohan. Bulma would definitely have an Alakazam, because it's like the only Pokemon that has a Pokedex description that boasts of its insane intelligence.
Oh, yes, of course.
Let's see. Cell would have like a team composed almost entirely of either like the almost like artificial or robotic Pokemon, or the
Ultra
Pokemon
Beasts.
that were like grown in a lab, or
Yeah, the
else
Ultra
born of
Beasts.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
An Ultra Beast would definitely be a contender for that.
Mm. And bug types.
Yes.
No, Scyther. So yeah, go Scyther. There you go. We could go on for days, but let's move on. Homnix HD. What if Marthaba was used on Frieza? Well, if everybody remembered the talismans and stuff like that, it would work. And Frieza would have no counter to this. Like, absolutely no idea. So, it would work. Homnix. There's your answer. So I would have to say that's the bad end music for Frieza there. The Somewhere Man. What if Jiro rebuilt Mercenary Tau, or at least used his combat data for use in the Android saga? Oh, that'd be good. Seriously, an android that could kill with their tongue. Like, oh man, Krillin better be careful with Android 18 during coitus later on.
Oh god.
It's like,
Lemon Masako's back, everybody.
She gives him tongue. Krillin is basically having an aneurysm. Oh god, I'm so sorry. I forgot to turn that off. Oh dear. Oh man. But okay. In all seriousness, having Mercenary Tau's martial arts skills would really actually lead the martial arts acumen to 17 and 18, and then they would actually want to do what's the word? That they would want to fight. So basically, it would just improve their inclination to actually do what the Doctor says, or at least have a good fight.
They would want to do more than be rebellious and do crime.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Right, absolutely. I would certainly agree. Okay.
I honestly think that the concept, and this has been asked in chat by a couple of people already, but and we've addressed it on previous ones too. I always thought that it was odd that Toriyama just kind of went with this random thing of like, oh yeah, I saw this like Chinese doll once, and I thought, hey, that would make a good choice for one of the android cyborg things that I was playing with the concept of for a bad guy. I was like, if you're gonna bring back the Red Ribbon Army, you should have made Jiro's right hand man Tao Pai Pai, so that like 19 and 20 could have been Tao Pai Pai and Dr. Giro respectively, because then that makes sense as being like, the quote unquote remnant of the defunct Red Ribbon Army. But it is how it is.
No. Hero of Time 97. Hi Moscow, love your channel. Oh, thanks, buddy. My question is there going to be any more Ginyu Force Turn Good stories? Definitely. We just want to like pace everything out, so probably you might get it in November. Let's just say that. Sam Hennis, what if Goku suffered a second head injury and his personality was split to Goku and Kakarot? Sort of like a Jekyll and Hyde scenario. I'd say probably a better blend would be like basically Goku is still Goku, but makes more Kakarot like in decisions and stuff like that. Like, it's a bit more callous, but he can't explain why. But that would probably be a better way rather than just doing the whole amnesia thing of like, if you hit your head an even number of times, you go back to normal. So you just have to have these things like Goku couldn't explain how he's acting like this. So sort of like a blend of the two. Tadachiel, what if the tree on Beerus' planet was the Tree of Might? That's a good question. That could be really cool. Like, that is the ultimate Tree of Might. Like, the mother tree. Like, it's the first tree where all the Tree of Might in that universe, the fruit then spread across the galaxy. That'd be a cool story. Cool story, bro. Yeah, and the only reason it's been stuck around is because Beerus likes the fruit. He just snacks on it from now to time. So, there you go. That's just like Beerus' orchard. That'd be a neat little story, actually. Paparacha, David Tennant Moro would be amazing. Right? Yeah, Hav and I were talking about this last time, and having David Tennant as Moro would be a really good addition.
He'd have to put a bit of a menacing edge on his voice. He couldn't be too chipper. That's the big thing about David Tennant is he has a real chipper voice, even when he's playing some of the more like downbeat characters that he's played before.
Oh,
I mean, he's very.
If you've seen David Tennant doing live action dramas, Like there's this. one
I've never
called
seen.
Death.
I've never seen his live action
Well,
drama. So
if you look on Netflix, do you have Netflix?
I do have Netflix.
There is a thing called, I don't know whether you got it, but it's a thing called Criminal.
Criminal.
It's called Criminal United Kingdom. David Tennant is in the first episode of season 1, and he's in it, and he's really good in it.
I'll have to check it because I mean I've seen him play villains in live action material before. I've seen him as Kilgrave. I've seen him as he obviously his role as the Doctor was a huge deal, but the Doctor's sort of a campy role to begin with, as far as it's part action, part comedy.
Yeah.
All nonsense half the time. I'm more familiar with him when he provides, like, when he gives his voice to things, and usually the characters are a bit too like, like, even when they're supposed to be grouchy, they're kind of like a chipper grouchy. Like his role as the new Scrooge McDuck is really, really good. It's very recognizably David Tennant, but I have a hard time because I'm not familiar enough with his body of work to say, like, would he be a good villainous Moro?
It remains to be seen, definitely. Okay. Nintendo Gamer. The Frieza race and Margin 21 are the tieflings of Dragon Ball. They're demonic creatures who are humanoid, have tails, and great dark power. Change my mind. No, I'm not going to change your mind, Ninty Gamer. I'd say that's a fairly decent assessment. Yeah? Okay.
Say it again. What was
the Frieza
what was the context again?
The Frieza race and Margin 21 are the tieflings of Dragon Ball. They're demonic creatures who are humanoid, have tails, and great dark power.
Yeah, that seems to make sense to me.
That checks out. That checks out to me, yeah. Short jumping walrus. If you were to hash out the dragons that the Dragon Ball summon as a race, what would you do with them? If you were to hash out the dragons that the Dragon Ball summon as a race, like a race of dragons and stuff like that. Oh, they're all just dragons, so. Like, they have a dragon society, they have a dragon high school, a dragon town hall. Shenron's just the new
dragon prime minister.
the dragon minister.
Or I guess it could be the dragon prince.
Ah, the dragon prince. Yeah.
Good show, by the way. Watch it. I very much enjoyed it.
Well, basically, you just see them, like, from the other realm, as in, like, you see, what do the dragons do when they're not been summoned? Like, the Dragon Balls come, and Sean was like, excuse me, Larry, I've got to go down and give them a wish.
I've got to take this call.
Yeah, exactly. And since everybody can do wishes, none of them are special. If everyone's super, no one will.
Nobody is.
Nobody. Exactly. Somewhere, what if Goku discovered that he was great at office work and loved it even more than fighting? Oh man. It's like, I've got to train harder than I ever have before to learn cursive and shorthand. Basically.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, I can type 1,000 words a minute. Instant transmit to board meetings. Goku, you got a meeting in 10 seconds. Like, across the street. Don't worry, I got this. There you go. The ultimate efficient thing. It's like Paparazzi. Krillin. He's 11. I'm 6.
Yeah, I'm like 15 if anybody's interested. Just like FYI. I'm like the oldest out of you three. No? Okay, ignore me then.
Reading that makes it seem like Piccolo's hit that point where he kind of really wants point of being a teenager where he really wants attention, so he's kind of pointing out like, hey, I'm a teenager too,
It's just like in Lord Slug. It's like, yeah, you go,
don't you ignore me.
God,
don't you fucking ignore me.
Alright. Nerd King. While I know Sir Go-Kart will never become a What If series on this channel, that's basically if Goku is an Arthurian legend, I'll still asking questions about him. I'm really impressed by your Trojan villain. My question is that what OC villain would you make for Go-Kart? You probably would have, like, it would have to be, King Frieza, but basically it's King John from Arthurian legend. So King John from Robin Hood. So basically,
so it would be. See, the thing is I'm thinking the most recent Robin Hood I watched was Prince of Thieves, in which case they excised Prince John and just did Sheriff of Nottingham with Alan Rickman. So I'm imagining a Frieza as played by Alan Rickman.
Ah, yes. Ah, yes, you filthy monkeys. You need to be Expelliarmus.
He's gonna cut Goku's heart out with a spoon.
it's like,
So you always hated the Saiyan race?
Always.
Oh no, that's a Snape reference. Get out of here.
oh, there's a fanfic I have in my repertoire whenever I do conventions, and I'm sad that I've not been able to do it though so often. Of like, it's a Snape x Poe fanfic. Why is Poe from Teletubbies so pale? It's dark. It's dark. I love.
Masako, this is not the time for bad fanfic, whatever it was called, that show.
Don't worry, I'm just saying it exists. That's all I'm saying. Alright, Kirby163. What if Pan became the Great Saiyan Kid? Right? It's that mummy, daddy, daughter time. It's family fun. That'd be amazing. That'd be so cute. Like, I'd be all for that. Great Saiyan Kid. Basically, this giant bank robber's being kicked butt from this, like, 5-year-old. That'd be amazing.
You could kind of have it as a situation where, she's a child hero, sort of similar to, like, say like an Astro Boy or something like that, or other relevant, like, one of the big things that I realize is, like, they don't really have a lot of, like, young child hero shows where the main character is a girl that aren't magical girl. Now that I think about it, like, I was trying to think of an example of like a fighting girl show where the child is like not played up for like fetishism or something like that. Like, but you could have this whole thing where like you follow the superhero adventures of Pan, and like you could have a crossover episode where like she teams up with a Raleigh.
That'd be surreal, at the very least.
Because like Arale is that, because she's a robot or whatever, she's that perpetual little kid. So you could have a couple of interesting little things with her being kind of like a superhero and stuff, and you could gradually expand on it depending on how long it goes, similar to long running magical girl shows. You could have her like grow and develop and so on and so forth.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Strider Blaze. What if Gohan trained or carried on like Goku after the Cell Saga? Yes, all the while balancing his school life, cause my goodness, Chi-Chi. Yeah, right, absolutely. But basically, if Gohan kept training and trained with Vegeta, he basically would be able to kick Dabura's butt. We might not have had Majin Vegeta, or at least it would have been much more difficult to do so. Yeah, basically, I imagine like Boo probably would have been either his arrival might have been delayed, or it might not have happened. It depends, really. But yeah, that's the main catalyst. Paparacha. What if Bulma made her strawberry wish in the Pilaf saga and got a power to turn people into strawberries by touching them like Boss Carrot? Oh, she'd go and visit Boss Carrot and say, "Hey, I've got this thing. Like, I'm sorry about these things. I want to pat you on the back because I'm really sorry." Turns Boss Carrot into a strawberry.
To a strawberry.
Eats him. Now how does it feel, huh? Like,
gotta dip him in chocolate first.
Oh, yeah.
Decadent chocolate covered strawberry.
Absolutely. Sam Hennis, what if making
dark? Yes, Meg
it's gonna be dark. Dark. Sam Hennis. What if making Dragon Balls were not exclusive to Namekians? They are just the only ones who know how to make them. Who would Kami choose as a successor? Gohan, probably. Teach Gohan how to make Dragon Balls. He probably would like the challenge. Yeah, he'd like the challenge. At certainly the very least to try and understand how they're made. So,
yeah,
probably. And hey, oh, look at that, my baby boy, the guardian of Earth. He's basically God. I couldn't be more proud.
I don't see. Here's the thing. I don't feel like Chi-Chi would be proud. And that's mostly just because Guardian of Earth does not come with a salary.
Yeah, oh, of course. But that's...
She'd be like, you're up there living like a bum on the lookout. You never call, you never write, and you haven't done any research papers of note. You're not making any developments. You have to separate yourself out from society. Mom, I'm basically like the equivalent of God. Yeah, well, that doesn't pay the bills.
Oh. It's like you can never win.
Yeah, jinx, Megane.
Yeah. Oh. Curb. Alright, what if Videl was present at the Cell Games? Well, if she was present, then she would realize and understand that Gohan was the one that saved the planet, and she was very smitten by that. Like, and impressed. So basically, she would know that her father was a fraud, but she probably already knows that. She knows that already. So basically, she would just not have this chip on her shoulder about Gohan or anything like that. There'd be respect right from the get-go, at the very least. Gobi.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe she'd be like, oh, Dad, Papa's just like that. Like, the Dragon Team would understand Hercule more. Like, they would get his shtick. Alright, Gobi. What if Otherworld was like the spirit world from... A-T-L-A.
Atla, as in Avatar The Last Airbender?
Avatar The Last Airbender. Before Legend of Korra stuff. I don't really know. I've not really watched Avatar. I've watched the first few episodes, but it's like...
It would be a little bit tricky because the spirit world isn't per se the afterlife. It's a bit different. And I'm not entirely certain. I haven't watched Avatar: The Last Airbender in a long time. I'd have to say though that it would probably it would leave things a lot more vague and mysterious and stuff like that, but in a series where you're constantly like bringing people back from the dead and traveling to the world of like gods and all that other kind of stuff, you'd have to do a pretty deep, like, ground up rewrite of a lot of stuff about Dragon Ball in order to fit like a spirit world, an Avatar The Last Airbender style spirit world scenario into the way that like the balance of heaven, earth, Kai, earth, Makai, and then the spirit world or anything like that, all of that stuff, and then the pantheon of gods and angels and so on. It would get way more complicated than it is even now. It would make it a bit more mysterious, a bit more vague, a bit more like, oh, you're gonna have to wander in the spirit world and be careful of like, demons like Ko the Face Stealer and stuff like that. But I don't think it would present enough of a interesting addition to the narrative without borking what makes Dragon Ball Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
To really explore it.
No, agreed. Okay, next one is for Kodlak. Idea for Bulma train like Goku. She and Vegeta leave to train in space together and swap tech. The only what if to improve their relationship. Oh, they definitely, swapped tech, all right. You know what I'm saying. But either way, in seriousness, in that timeline, that Bulma's over Vegeta at this point. Like she's got that 189 dumb smart IQ, so she's already like processed the whole relationship. She was feeling a bit awkward with the love triangle. No, there isn't a love triangle anymore. No, she realized that Vegeta would be a really bad move for her. What she's got with Yamcha, it's got its issues, but ultimately it's sound in her mind. Different change pace, but basically it would be very very it'd be very platonic, and it would purely be for research. She would even bring Yamcha along too, just to make sure. There you go. Sam Hennis. What if Majin Buu absorbed Babidi and or Dabura? Basically, I would say if she, or if Buu absorbed Babidi, basically, he would have more magic, like ultimate magic, and maybe Deborah, like Majin Buu, but with a very, very mighty chin.
If Majin Buu absorbed Bibbidi or Bobbidi and Deborah, if he absorbed those two, what would you call him? Majin Babura?
Dabura.
Dabura.
Yes.
But what about the presence of I'm assuming that Bobbidi was absorbed in this scenario as well. So Majin Daburabidi.
Boobadibura. Boobadibura. Boobadibura.
Babadibura.
Zip zap zooby bop.
Zip zap zoobity bop.
Oh, just like whatever, you know. Whatever you want. Yeah, exactly. Logan Kier. This is a weird one, but what if Gohan saved Zangia in BoJack Unbound? Well, if Zangia survived, there'd be that awkward tension between 18 and her. Because your boyfriend's kind of cute. Skank! I love that in Tenkaichi.
Hey now!
Just like, that was the thing. If you fought Zangia versus 18, that's the intro lines.
Oh my
you know,
gosh.
18 just went skank. Just like, oh.
I like to think that Zangia and 18 would be friends.
Yeah, well, that's not what the game had. They had to change it, actually. It's only in early copies of Tenkaichi. They actually changed it
I'm sure.
in traditions. Yeah. I'm gonna. If I ever get to see Sabbath about that, I need to ask him why. What on earth did you possess you to put that in there?
Well, it was probably supposed to be a sort of nod to the fandom.
Oh no, Sophie's gone. Oh no, they got to her. Ah no. Ah no. Oh well. Anyway, we'll continue with the next one until she gets back. Kirby, what if Pilaf and Shu were still alive in the future? Well, if they were still alive in the future, I think Pilaf would probably be this hardened, embattled, you know, gruff soldier. Like, I've seen many things in my lifetime, but this scares me. And Shu is just like, you know, Shu has basically got jacked. Like, absolutely buff and stuff like that. I'm the big buff dog, and I'm gonna make sure that you do not destroy my world. Right, my? So basically, this buff dog, grizzled Pilaf soldier. I think that's how I'd say it. Don't worry, we'll will Sophie to come back. Kirby, what if Videl trained with Piccolo? Oh, that would be really good with Sophie. I'll save that one for when she comes back, because I think she'll really like that one. Furious Godzilla, what if Cooler turned good? If my brother can do it, then so can I. If Cooler did turn good, it would be mainly about the idea of him just like becoming less lawful evil and more lawful neutral. Basically, you know, I may not be a good person, but I'm going to uphold the law, you know, or not like try and bend it or anything like that. Okay. Apparently Sophie's headset died, so you know, but we'll save this one, Kirby, for oh, Sophie, back?
I think so.
Yeah.
How's my audio?
There you go. It's good. I saved this one because Kirby said, "What if Videl trained with Piccolo?"
Oh my gosh, that would be great, because that would make there be a little bit of a connection there, because you establish the connection between her and Piccolo, which links her further to Gohan, because Piccolo was the first person that Gohan trained under. But also, I think it would really help because I feel like Videl really she really benefited from when they did the more like spiritual meditative aspects of the training and stuff like that, when she was able to go and reach in and take hold of her ki and stuff like that during Gohan's training. I think that Piccolo's training style would really suit her, especially since she has this aggressive streak.
Mm-hmm.
And she has this aggressive streak, and I can see her having a lot of pride. You know, it kind of goes hand in hand with being the daughter of Hercule and coming from as an esteemed dojo as the Satan school, even if it is even if it is a big freaking hoax, more or less, but she's got a lot of aggression and energy to work through. And I think that the person to do that with would be Piccolo. And since she already knows how to fly and use rudimentary energy blasts, like, you could literally start it off like have Piccolo take her out to the wasteland and be like, "This is the wasteland where I trained Gohan. Do you want me to start the training the same way I started with him?" And of course, Videl would be like, "Yes, absolutely." And he's like, "Okay." And so he grabs her by the head and throws her at the plateau.
Oh. Oh, that's ow. Gosh, that's painful. That's painful.
Dodge! Yes, exactly. So much dodge potential.
Alright, Pasho, what if the Crane School joined the 21st Tenkaichi Budokai, so Tien and Chaozu became good 3 years earlier? But between better training for Goku and Korin's Tower for them, it might make a big difference. Yeah, no, it would, because Tenshinhan and Chaozu would be on the same level. They'd be with the Dragon Team for a lot longer, so it'd mean that the initial foray with King Piccolo, Tenshinhan would be able to do a lot more in terms of like defending the Earth. So basically, yeah, and him with Goku at the same time would be a really formidable team, as it were. Absolutely. Thor Nelson, what if Universe 7 Saiyans were inherently good like Universe 6 Saiyans? You basically have Universe 6 Saiyans, only less noodly. They'd be buffer. There you go.
You said noodly, and it took me a moment to process that you meant noodle, as in noodle, like as in they're thin, and not noodly, as in like nude. L-Y.
No. Well, mind you, they did live in mud huts, the Universe 7 Saiyans, so they had to, like, you know...
Muds.
Oh my gosh.
Right, driver's line. What if Dr. Gero was an alter ego to Dr. Brief? Well, we do say that in a way. Like, loads of people think, oh, what if Dr. Gero is Dr. Brief's evil twin brother? Like, it's basically Dr. Light. It's Dr. Light and Dr. Wily. Yeah.
In this case,
no, it's an alter ego, as in like,
yeah,
like
ego,
Dr. Brief.
yeah.
He basically, by the way, sweetie, I've got to go to my other job, and then basically takes off the hat, changes into a different baggy pants, and becomes the evil Dr. Gero.
I imagine it is kind of a Jekyll and Hyde scenario, and so like when he goes into Gero mode, the baggy pants and Ushanka, gets put on the head or whatever. I think that's an Ushanka. It's a Russian hat. It may not be an Ushanka.
Yeah.
But when he goes into Mr. Hyde mode, that's when he becomes Dr. Gero.
Absolutely. Kane Calsrain, any advice for an upcoming voice actor? Sure. Keep practicing. Make connections where you can. Don't be afraid of rejection, because rejection happens a lot. Heck, I get offered auditions and I don't get cast most of the time. So it's like, yeah, it happens. Just take it on the chin, learn from experience, and move on. And just don't try and do it just to be popular. Do it because you love doing it. That's pretty much what I'll say. Kirby, what if Future Trunks became the guardian of Earth, of his Earth? He'd be good. He'd be really strong. He'd be very lawful, because he is basically lawful good. Yeah, he'd be a very decent candidate. He would make sure that, his mother could, like, live at the same time. But if it was, like, in, the super thing, and he went back, yeah, if he was Guardian, yeah, he and Mai would just, like, start a new world overseeing the planet Earth, as him literal being the Guardian of it. Driver's line. Why is there a size difference between Kami and Demon King Piccolo in Dragon Ball? What if the original Kami reincarnated himself like Demon King Piccolo, or did he? Well, don't forget, Namekians have a giant form. King Piccolo just does that to be giant just because. To make him look evil and intimidating. So, that's the thing. So, it's just using the Namekian ability to, be giant Namekian.
Wait. So basically, what is that the Namekian ability to turn into a giant is just their way that like animals, the way that animals like do the whole like suck in a big breath, try to make yourself look big, flare out your feathers, look intimidating. That's what giant Namekian is.
Yes, because King Piccolo, he obviously knows how to use it, but when Piccolo Jr. does it, it causes him incredible pain because he doesn't know, he's not used to using it. But yeah, I guess you could do it. Okay, Gobi. What if Goku's use of transmission meant he wasn't the same Goku after each use because of constant disassembling, reassembling of his molecules? Oh, like an instant transmission goes wrong one time and he basically loses all of his memory. Like, he transmits, like, how did I get here? Who am I? How durable is he? How durable am I? Questions for later. But yeah, it'd be just like, oh dear. Well then, you know, he'd have to keep transmitting or be told how to transmit to then try and get his original DNA back and stuff. It would really negate transmission entirely. Moifanam, what if Super started at the end of Z, and how would it change from Beerus to Broly DBS? Well, basically, there'd be a lot more, like, peril, because we'd actually not know what was going on for once. Like, as in, we would actually have no clue about what's happened and make things more interesting. And we would just, yeah, there'd be less, predictability. I guess. Yeah, and in terms of the 4-year time skip, it would just mean that, it would just be, everyone would be older, the new generation would be there, Trunks and Goten would actually be older.
They'd actually look like they've aged a day past 8.
Right? Yeah, exactly like that. All like that. Absolutely. Molly,
you know it's wrong when your character who's supposed to be near or at the age of 13 is shown holding the newborn, and the newborn is almost as big as they are. Yeah. That's bad. Okay.
And then Goten actually looks younger.
Goten looks like Gohan did at the beginning of Dragon Ball when he was like 4.5.
And Marin's meant to be 7, and she still looks like she's 3.
They still show her doing stuff like a toddler too. Like they still draw her and like have her act like she's still in the terrible 2s.
And the one thing I didn't get is that in End of Z, she suddenly gained proper eyes. How did that happen?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe she just had to grow into them.
Yeah, maybe. Molly Shadows. What if Goku came back after the Cell games? Okay, so if he got revived, you just get the Buu saga. It just means Goku. Well, you wouldn't have Super Saiyan 3 because it obviously couldn't be got. It couldn't be got because it wasn't attainable originally in the mortal world. So fighting Buu, I think I'd have to play the sound. It would not be. It would certainly be a little bit more trepidatious, to say the least. Ross the Boss. This isn't necessarily a what if, but rather a question. What factors do you consider when writing what ifs? Oh, good question. Usually with writing what ifs, I try and keep things relatively. I write on the fly, so I finish a script, then I leave it alone for a bit, and then I write the next script. I don't plan, really. So I just keep going like, where are my hands taking me? So I just kind of let my writing, I let the script write itself, basically.
You're one of those seat of their pants writers. I'm kind of in the opposite boat myself. When I approach a what if, it's more like, what thing in Dragon Ball or any other given series am I either dissatisfied with and want to see changed, or what interesting thing could have happened here that didn't, and how would that work out, right? Yeah. So like my what ifs, obviously I've only got the one series for what ifs on my channel right now. I will get back to my channel eventually. Just got to, work through the other stuff. But like one of the reasons I started with what if Krillin had a power up was because I wanted to address the fact that none of the humans got to be given what was basically taken as like a given power up in the video games and other periphery media. Like like the humans and stuff, like they can use the Kaioken in the video games, but they never get to use it in the show ever. And I was like, well, what if I take that and I expand upon it? That would address a core problem that I had with the show, because the show basically spiraled downhill into just being about the Saiyan characters. In a similar vein, you know, I address like what interesting ways could various different aspects be if A happened instead of B, or somebody turned left instead of right, you know, or you know, however, at each point in the story where a coin flip might have happened, like this character could die or could live, or this character could do thing X versus thing Y. Okay, what if they had done this differently, and then approach it like that to try and glean an interesting narrative out of it? I don't do a whole lot of meme stuff like when I'm doing my writing process. I don't do a whole lot of stuff that's just like comedy. I try to actually address like a core aspect that I think would be interesting or cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Sorry.
That's okay.
I just had to like make sure. Okay. Right. And the last one we have is Paparacha. Mars, can you share the link to that Snake Poe fanfic? I'm afraid, and you'll be very pleased to hear this, Soph, the link, it is lost to time.
Good. Like, also, real quick, Vulcan Kione says that they meant, with their question about the twins for Trunks and Bra, they meant specifically in the Hercule What If, when Bulma married Yamcha.
Oh.
So...
well... I don't know, really. I mean, there'd be like maybe like an 11. There'd be an 11-year time gap. It'd be a big age gap, so that'd be a very awkward relationship. If you know what I mean? Because like,
well,
Pan's, you know, born later.
Well, in the Hercule What If, Bulma and Yamcha having twins, so Trunks and Bra instead of just Trunks, how would that affect? How would that affect the other things apart from like the relationship stuff?
You see, that's the thing. This is my whole writing by the seat of the pants. Is that I genuinely don't know. So I'm afraid, Vulcan.
You guys,
yeah, that's the thing. I can't answer that.
This is why you need to develop an outline. You can't just George R.R. Martin this. You're gonna wind up wasting 8 years away at your desk trying to get the Winds of Winter out.
Hey, at least I'm not like Kentaro Miura and playing eroge for like decades. And putting guts on a boat.
Oh God! Kentaro Miura, depressed and finding solace in his eroge for what is it, 35 years?
Yeah, basically. All right, that's about wrapping things up for another roundtable live stream. Thank you all so much for all of your support. We really do appreciate this. And Sophie, I'd like to say thank you for joining us today as well.
Thank you.
And we all hope that you're all staying safe out there and that you're all well and that you are basically keeping yourselves in good spirits. And do look forward to the next video coming out, which is What If Trunks Met Kid Bomber Part 4. So there you go. I mean, they're not as kids anymore, but basically, you'll see what I mean. Well, I'll see you Saturday. Okay, take care, everybody. Have a good night. Bye.